Welcome back to the program. Today is a profound opportunity for all of us to get to meet and connect with Ajahn Supawan Green in order for us to find our inner peace and also perhaps even discover our own eureka experiences, as Ajahn Supawan will be sharing with us coming up soon as well. Ajahn means, for those of us who are unfamiliar, is a Thai honorific for the term teacher. And so I call Ajahn Supawan Teacher Supawan. So I'll be saying Ajahn or Ajahn Supawan just to let you know in advance. As for Ajahn Supawan, a bit on her background for those of you who don't know about her, she is a prolific author of many, many books, dozens of books, and I have some of them here, such as Einstein Questions, Buddha Answers. We also have books on the User Guide to Life. It's a little bit, there we go. User Guide to Life, The Moral Diet. We also have books as on the User Guide to Life Part 2, The Law of Karma, and so many more that we will address later on as well when we get the chance. The latest book being Gon Avicha. Many of these books are in Thai language, and so we'll be sharing with you the English translations as much as we can through our video interviews as well. And the latest book to come out is the book called So Glad I Can Bring Myself Back Home. This is a kind of loose Thai translation into English. Is that right, Ka Ajahn Supawan? So glad to have you today. Sawadee ka.
Sawadee ka. Thank you very much for inviting me, and hello everyone. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Rosalind.
Very much. Thank you, Ajahn. We're very much honored. Meanwhile, Ajahn also coined the term Bring Your Mental Self Back Home and is the founder of the Bring Your Mental Self Back Home Foundation in Thailand. That is for all of us practitioners of meditation who want to find our inner peace and connect with Source, connect with our own our higher self as well. So Ajahn Ka, I'd like you to start off by explaining that term, how you came to coin the term Bring Your Mental Self Back Home.
Okay. Well, first of all, I need to explain a bit that my background is really deliver the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha's teaching, the core teaching of the Buddha really, okay, which is all about talking about our mental pain or suffering. That is the first noble truth, and how to end the suffering. Which the Buddha gave us a tool, we can call a toolkit, which is an empowering tool that can help us to be in control of our mind, basically. Okay, because all of our problems, in life is all the externally, all these problems that we experience daily. In the physical matter, okay, they all dematerialize into non-physical form that you call thoughts and feelings, right? Thoughts and feelings. And it is these thoughts and feelings, this feature, this component of a life form, which cause the problem that give us pain, give us mental pain, give us suffering. Okay, and cause the world like it is today, all messy and turbulent and problematic, and people, break down, all these things full of stress. So what happened is that these two components, our mind, thoughts and feelings, they don't show up when we look at ourselves in the mirror, do we? They don't show up. The only component of this life form that show up is only our physical body. Okay, our as being handsome, being beautiful. This is only the part that you can identify with when you look at yourself in the mirror, but not a mind that make up of thoughts, memories, feelings, emotion, and then you also have consciousness. All these are very abstract, they're non-physical, obviously, and you don't know how it works, how all these components within our mind works. But this is something that the Buddha have told us, long ago, 2.5 millennia ago, but yet we don't understand. We don't understand fully. So this is the reason why I need to invent my own terminology. And not just that, I need to create a lot of props to help people to understand what's going on in our head, in our mind, in our hearts, and why make us so, mess up within. Mess up with stress, worry, anxiety, anger, jealousy, fear, and then lack of confidence, all these things, all the way up to breakdown, depression, breakdown, suicidal, that kind of thing. To me, this is the really big problems. The really big problems that I really like to help people to understand. So in my teaching, I have to use a lot of props. Can I introduce one really humble prop?
Of course. Please do.
This is the beginning, very humble. Yeah. A bottle of water. But this is a very good representation of our life form. Human life form. You see, in Western term, you are so familiar with, you have a body, you have mind and spirit, like body, mind, and spirit. So this is
the Trinity,
the terminology that we all familiar, in the West. Yeah. But when you look at yourself in the mirror, you only see your body, right? You never see your mind, your spirit. But it is your mind, your spirit that create the problems to the world, from the individual level all the way, to the collective level, on the global level, such as war, the ultimate one. Okay, so to me, I think that this is so important message to help people to understand what's going on inside here. That's why we need all these props and the terminology or the language that people can really identify with. Because in Buddhism, you Thai, you grow up in Thailand, you're familiar with all this Pali language, right? The chanting in Pali, the jargon that we face in Buddhism.
It's a foreign language to me.
Yeah, and even the Thai Buddhists, they don't understand, do they? I don't know about the people, but I grew up in Thailand, and I got so much mental pain in my teenage year, and I know that the Buddha could help me. I even knew that the Buddha could help me. But when I read the Dharma book, I could not understand. I could not get through this barrier of this, the difficult language.
Yes.
Yeah, the Dharma language, that I couldn't get through that barrier. I know that they're good, but how those words, but I just could not digest it. And I could not get to the point that, okay, I agree everything, what the Buddha said, I agree with you everything. And now I want to start that very first step of this epic journey to nirvana. Yeah, let's say I want to go to nirvana because Buddha said that nirvana is the end of suffering. Wow, end of suffering. That sounds so attractive. Who don't want the end of suffering? Who don't want to come to the end of mental pain? But how? Just show me how we're going to, take that very first giant step, so that we can engage into this epic journey to go to nirvana and end our mental pain suffering. I didn't understand, and I could not do it. I read and read. You listen to all these, Dharma teacher who tell you this and that, and they're all good. I felt good when I was listening. But when the pain go, at teenage years, you got all these hormones. You're a student, and then you're all over the place, in your head, in your heart. There's so much pain. And then in the end, I said, oh gosh, I'm so confused. I just don't know what to do. And I did, I don't know which part of my life that I make that vow, make that promise. I told myself that, one day if I could understand the Buddha's teaching, I'm going to teach the way that I like to be taught, that I like to be taught, that I like to be explained, with clarity. Step one, okay, do this, for the absolute beginner. Okay,
Right.
this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Just breaking
follow
it down for people to follow step by step process.
exactly,
Yes.
break them down with simple language. And fortunately, I I reached the point that that I got to fulfill that promise now. Okay, because I got enough, knowledge to share. So this is why I need all this prop, and then why bring a mental self back home. Bring your mental self back home. Okay,
Right.
so I will explain that further. Okay, so basically, cut the story short. I like to explain that the Buddha talked about the 5 elements, the 5 components that make up of this life form, which is 1 part solid. Okay, 1 part solid, that is a physical body. But there are 4 parts that in a non-physical form. And then in the enclosure of this physical body, you cannot see. It won't show on the mirror, in the mirror. So that's why I'm going to show you, and then I will lead you back to why I coined bring your mental self back home. Okay, so 1 step at a time. I try to make it simple. So if anyone don't understand, you can quickly write in and say, please explain again. I'm quite happy to do so. Okay, so let's start like this. We got a physical body, which is the only solid part that we see in the mirror, that walk around in the earth. But we cannot deny the existence of our mind, our thought. Everyone, we got our thoughts, we got our memories, and then we got our feelings, emotion, okay? And then you still got the consciousness. So make life easier for you. Thoughts, memories, and feelings, okay? I want to wrap them up and call this part mind. M-I-N-D, mind, okay? Mind, which is a different component from our consciousness. So the consciousness is represented by these red bits in here. Okay, so but then again, when you say consciousness, it still sounds so distant, so remote,
So broad.
I know that.
Yeah,
quite broad. I try to make a point that everything that I say, it got to engage, relate to this physical life, to this life form of a life. Okay, so instead of calling consciousness, because so many people in intellectual expert talking about consciousness, a course about consciousness is everywhere, but it's still, when you say that, okay, what is it going to do with me? So that's why I use analogy. And I tell and I deliver the knowledge in the form of storytelling, which will help you understand better.
Everyone loves stories.
Love story. So let's say that we got the physical body, we got the physical self. At the same time, we make a consciousness become our mental self. A mental self or our inner self, we cannot deny that we have the existence, in there. Even though it's non-tangible, it's non-tangible, it's non-physical, but we know that there is something in there. Yeah. Okay. So let's give this consciousness a personification. Okay. So personify it, call it mental self, inner self, which I will tell you later on that it is our true self. It's our true self. It's the real self. You know, whereas this physical body is only a shell. It's only a shell. It's only a vessel. Just like, see, more proper. It's
Like a
only a
glove.
shell. Yeah, it's only
We're
a
kind of
shell.
like,
You know,
I think when you think about people, we're kind of like onions or like banana leaves where you
banana.
there's
Banana.
so many
That's
layers.
a good what's the
Analogy.
You know,
Yes.
but I always stick with this, that this is our physical self, the part that you can see in the mirror, whereas our consciousness is our mental self or inner self, which is the real self. This real self need to have a house, you know. So this is our accommodation, this is our house, and these two selves have to live together, you know, live together in tandem to form a perfect life form. You see that? So everyone who walk the earth, they have the physical self externally, and within they got the mental self or consciousness. And these two things got to live together in tandem to form a perfect life form. Okay, so this is a mental self, the red part in there. And the rest, okay, is our thoughts, memories, and feelings, which I wrap it up called mind. So mind is basically our thoughts and feelings, our thoughts and feelings. So I try to connect with, bring your mental self back home. So first of all, you know, this is the mental self now, right? We got the physical self, and this red part is our mental self, which is also our true self, inner self, true self within. You can't see, it's in the energetic form, So why bring a mental self back home? We got to come back to this part, okay? My analogy hasn't ended yet. So
It's a very important, big analogy.
Mind or thoughts, memories, and feelings, which is quite, you know, lengthy. Okay, from now on, I will call this part Jerry. Tom and Jerry. Okay, so this is Jerry. Sorry, I don't have any. No, we better not touch Jerry. I got this with me. I try to find my, you know, toy figure, but I just come back from the temple last weekend.
Okay.
And my toy figure gone missing. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
We'll just
That
imagine.
toy figure is our mental self. Yeah. So it's our mental self. So today Nemo will be our mental self.
Yes.
Right? Anyway, so why I need to talk about our mind and feelings? Because every existing problem in the world, you know, from individual to the collective, okay, every problem out there, they cannot jump into a life form in the physical form. No. Okay, so let's suppose, you know, in your office, you have 10 people, okay, 10 people, you are one of the 10. And then there are 5 people in there, not like you, dislike you. Whereas the other 4, okay, like you. Okay, so this just suppose, that's a story to tell. And then, so there is a war, you know, bickering between some in the office. Monday morning, you walk into the office. You say one person, you see, so one person on this side who dislike you, and then your friend who like you. Okay, they're in the corner of the room, and they both are talking, and they look at you when you open the door, look at you, and they smile, and they look at you, and they're talking like that. Okay, so you can imagine. Okay, this is very simple, a very simple, you know, example. Yeah. So your eyes can see that event in the corner, but that 2 people do not just, and then your mind start, you know, thinking. But anyway, that perception about that 2 person who are talking at the corner of the room as you enter the room, okay, that is the trigger, right? It's a trigger that that make you think further. Oh my God. Oh, this so-and-so is going to get my friend into that side. And then I'm going,
They're
this
talking
my friend
about
is
me.
going
They're
to-
conspiring.
yeah, they're talking about me, all these things. Oh gosh, what happened? And then your heart start pounding, and then you got a whole army of thoughts, boom, bombarded, by all this Jerry in your head.
Negative
Okay.
thoughts,
But
Jerry's.
anyway,
Yes.
that's it. But anyway, that entire event, of that two people talking, they won't just jump into your life form in the physical form. They dematerialize from the material form and then travel into your head, into your mind, through your eyes. The sight, okay? Sight travel through your eyes like a bridge. Your eyes, ears, sound, your sensory organ is very much like bridges, okay, connect the external world into your inner world. So that perception, the sight travel, the information travel through your eyes and then dematerialize and turn into your thoughts and feelings or Jerry. Okay? Turn into Jerry in your head. And then that Jerry trigger more Jerry thinking, oh gosh, what they're talking, they must be talking about me. Look, they look at me and they smile like that. Can you see that? So that's just the example. And it works the same with every problems in the world. Every problem in the world that you experience on a daily basis, it doesn't matter, directly, with the flesh and blood, or go through the computer, screen or television screen in the form of news. Yes, you see, news, sound, okay? These are all information. Sight, sound, smell, taste, and texture, okay? The perception, these 5 perceptions, okay? They are all data or information of problems, which I round them up called Jerry.
Which is our Elmo today, right? Oh no.
Hang on. So let me put this for Jerry, okay? Dark Jerry as well, if they're talking about you behind your back. Okay, dark Jerry.
About Jerry.
Okay. Yeah.
When you talk about Jerry, we think of just a pronoun, but there's an origin for your analogy of Tom and Jerry. So Jerry, we're referring to the mouse. Is that correct?
Yeah, Jerry the mouse. Sorry, I don't have the mouse. I can't use. I won't touch the famous mouse, okay? Because
we have a CG mouse coming up soon.
Yeah, but just Jerry, any Jerry. My neighbor named Jerry, so I like that neighbor, so I just go after him, Jerry. Okay, right. So let's say Jerry, and let's suppose today this one is our mental self. It's a mental self. Okay, so this is a mental self, the red one. Okay. Oh, so many red today. Red.
Yes.
Red. It's good. Yeah. And then, so when you see all these perceptions, about the problem in the world, it doesn't matter what problem. All these problems out here in the material world, they all dematerialize and turn into Jerry. I will show you why I use this, okay? And suppose this is our mental self, okay? So when Jerry come into our head, come into our heart, Jerry will take over our inner self or mental self in this form. Can you see that?
Yes.
I normally have a bit one of an easy one. Take over. And this take over, so once Jerry take over, Jerry will spin you. Let me use this one instead. Okay. Let's have this little one as Jerry. No, okay. I'm into self. So see, I got my usual prop and it's gone missing. So this is the last minute before I come on air with you. I thought, oh, what can I grab? I grabbed this. But this
it still helps us visualize.
Let's use this one. Okay. So this is a mental self, a true self. Okay, So when Jerry comes to take over, Jerry more or less, eat us up. Eat the mental self or true self up. Eat us up, okay? And then spin us around. Can you see that?
It's just for a roller coaster ride.
This red one is a mental self, true self, okay, inner self. And this water represents Jerry. So Jerry come into our head. Okay, you have that perception about someone talking about you behind your back, and then that they got to talk about you, and they try to get your friend into their side, this kind of thing. So that is a very good trigger for you to trigger more Jerry in your head. Can you see that?
So from a peaceful kind of placid water, we have just a storm going on in that bottle.
Yes. So this, always remember that this water in here represents Jerry, which is our thoughts and feelings. Okay? Yeah, so it's quite abstract. So I'm going to need all this. So this is our mental self, our true self, inner self. Okay, very innocent. Okay, but when you have that perception, the information of problem run through the bridges of your ears, your eyes, and turn into Jerry, and then Jerry within take over our mental self, and then start to chop us into pieces. See, this is a mental self, and Jerry chop us into pieces. Give us the mental pain. Give us the mental pain.
Mental pain is in stress, doubt, just drama, and whatever, name it, all of the above.
Everything you name it,
alone.
From stress, worry, anxiety, fear, envy, anger, greed, disappointment, sadness. Oh gosh, the list go on.
Yes, all of the
all
above.
the way to depression, breakdowns, suicide.
Oh my goodness.
It's all about Jerry. You see, Jerry represents our thoughts, our memories, and our feelings, emotion. Okay, so these three components, I round them up and call just one word, Jerry. Yeah, and then Jerry, once it come into our inner world, it in the energetic form now, and it got this activity going on within in here, and this activity is about Jerry. Okay, Jerry put Tom onto the chopping board and then start chopping, chop,
Poor
and
Tom.
mince up, and then what we display externally is this not, really stressful face, really worry face, really full of worry, anxiety, can't run out of word, you know what I mean?
Yes.
This is what happened there. Now, so are you clear now with what I mean by Jerry? Yeah.
Yes.
Jerry. So once we put this as Jerry, I will give a mental self as, let's say, Tom, and Tom is my uncle's name. Okay. So I use this analogy. Just follow, my uncle. His name is Tom, and he's my favorite Uncle Tom. So Uncle Tom become this Tom, a mental self. And then my next door neighbor, Jerry. Okay. I like him. So I name after my neighbor, Jerry. Okay. So you got Tom and Jerry. Okay. And then Jerry played that role as the representation of all problems. So all problems in the world, it doesn't matter what problem, but in the end, once it turned into Jerry, it can give Tom a mental self, the grief. Okay, so I will connect now. Why bring your mental self back home. I don't know how much time you have. You got to, remind me because I can carry on forever, you can just, okay, done. That's it now. Okay, right. I will connect this for you and then I, give the floor back to you. Right. So The red part is a mental self, and the water is a problems. Okay, so which I call Jerry, and then Jerry, make us means us up, give us the mental pain. Or I can explain like this. That Tom or mental self get lost in a mental jungle. Can you see that? This mental jungle that make up of Jerry represent all the problems. So this is the problem, okay? The problem that exists in the head, in the heart, and a mental Tom is in between all these problems. So can you see that our Tom, our mental self is being lost in a mental jungle, unable to come home.
Originally, our mental self is peaceful. It's a very peaceful, happy, kind of high frequency, high vibes kind of energy. But once you open the bridge, you toss the bridge open, and these days it's even more than a bridge. It's become a satellite dish of information where you said the senses all kind of gathering information and allowing that to bridge into ourselves and
the information of problem in the material world rushing into our inner world. Yeah.
And then you have that
left,
storm.
Right, center, up and down, so they're all rushing. So every time that you look at the media, you look at your phone, your line, your WhatsApp, your this and that, Facebook, everything.
So many things, yes.
Every little thing. These are all the information of problem that all rush into, through a sensory organ, and they all turn into one thing, Jerry. So Jerry represents the problems. And this problem and this Jerry got to come face to face with our inner self in the non-physical form, in the energetic form within, which is the part that we cannot see in the mirror. Can you see that? That's why I need to show you all these things. I need to show you this. As you said, that prior to that, if you don't have any trigger, okay, if you sit, quite nicely in your own home, in the garden, mind nobody's business, enjoying the sunshine, all these things. Yeah, your mental self, there is no trigger. So you can be quite at peace. You can be quite at peace, but not always because of your memory. Your memory
body
can be a trigger in itself. Yeah, right. You can, sit, relaxingly in the garden, and then suddenly there is some really random thoughts about an event, that happened a few days ago that caused you so embarrassed or so sad or so disappointing. It could be about your family, your children, your spouse, can be anything at all, and memory can be so random. One is just, pop up in your head. It can be the trigger enough to beat your mental self and give you that really, I was okay just now, but now, you see, 1 minute you can be quite still and, quite chill inside. But next minute, even though you don't look into your phone, no computer, no television, but the memory in itself, that random memory that, just spring up on its own without announce, and it's enough to give you this pain.
So to recap, we're talking about the continuous endless chase between Tom and Jerry, with Jerry's being all the problems in the world, coming from thoughts, emotions, just to all the things that have been triggered by the elements of the sensory elements like touch, taste, smell, sound, texture, all of those things triggering, you could say, like a bridge leading into our inner selves and triggering all these thoughts, emotions, and such, creating a huge storm within that bottle that is our mind. And so Is that correct, ค่ะอาจารย์
Yes, yes, yeah. Like just now, I talk about the trigger as as your own memories, because you mentioned about if there is no trigger at all, you can just sit in the garden, and be quite at peace. But your own thought, your random thought, it can just spring out in random, out of the blue. And that thought, it can bring, trigger your emotion. It could be a kind of disappointment, sadness, loneliness, or embarrassment, or anything at all.
Even
Okay?
physical pain, yes.
Yeah, and then cause you this, commotion within. So let's connect with bring your mental self back home. The connection is that I told this story in this way, that your mental self, once you are being bombarded by a whole army of Jerry, your mental self, or Tom, is very much like being lost in your mental jungle. Can you see that? And then unable to come home.
Feeling very shaky. Yes.
That's it. So unable to come home. This is the part that I will connect with the solution that the Buddha gave us as the fourth noble truth, which you know as the Noble Eightfold Path, got the right view, right, right this and that, all the way to right concentration and right meditation. Okay, so that meditation that in the West called mindfulness meditation, or in Buddhist term is vipassana. Vipassana is exactly the tool that can bring your mental self back home, because home is a safe place, where, our mental self, physically, we have a home to go back to. Mentally, spiritually, we also got the home to go back to. But this is the fact that people don't know. People don't know, because it's all these things happen, within. This is non-physical, and then you can't understand what's going on. That's why I need to have this bottle, this prop, to show you, to show you your predicament, humanity's predicament, on a daily basis. That every time that you have the trigger of any problem in there within, we are being lost in a mental jungle, unable to come home. So the Buddha solution is basically, take a hand, come on, I will take you back home. Home is a safe place. Okay, no place like home. Hang on, just now I was thinking of something that is connected to this. I forgot. I'll come back, later. So this is the reason why I bring a mental self back home. It's just another terminology for vipassana, another terminology for mindfulness meditation. Okay, when you say meditation or mindfulness, it is still, okay, what is it going to do with me then? You can't really understand right away. But when you use this term, bring your mental self back home, you can begin to ask questions. What do you mean by mental self?
What do you mean home,
and
too?
what happens to my mental self? You see, it's my mental self is not home. You see, you can carry on with the storyline, and then you can give people the answers. So this is what I do. What I do, when I teach my student, in Thailand or over here in England, I offer them the tool, and this tool basically is vipassana or mindfulness meditation, or bring your mental self back home. And then you can go straight into the technique of meditation as how exactly you can bring your mental self back home. Oh yeah. What entered my mind just now is that, you see, in the West, you have the term called the lost soul, right? The lost soul. Someone who have problem, and then like mom, look at the children. Oh gosh, Sonny, what happened? You look like a lost soul. Your soul with it. Your soul, your spirit, your inner self, your consciousness, they are the same nature. I try to make it easier for you. Okay, so this is your soul, your spirit, your inner self, your consciousness. And then this is being lost in your mental jungle, in your mental problem. You see, don't have to be severe problem, being schizophrenia or anything, just disappointment or sadness because of someone, in the state of bereavement because you have lost someone, or loneliness or disappointment or embarrassment or whatever, all the way to depression, breakdown.
Viruses, for example, too.
Yeah, so you can you see that? I think a mental problem, is the basic problem that humanity have it across the board, regardless of your belief system. It doesn't matter who you are, what kind of religious belief system that you have, political belief system. It doesn't matter at all. We talk about the fact, the truth that exists in all human. Men, women, children, it doesn't matter. We all have problems. We all have all this. Yeah. Okay. We can be a lost soul at any time. Okay. So today, I just introduced Jerry to you, and then we'll make life much easier. It's from now on, you try to use the term Jerry. Use the term Jerry. It means that no matter what problem that you have in here, oh, Jerry coming now. Oh, I have so many Jerry in here, and then it means that you identify the problem within. Once you identify the problem, the solution is that get rid of Jerry. Just purge Jerry out of your house. You see, it's so simple.
Very much.
Simple. And like this, analogy language.
Words carry a lot of meaning and a lot of power. And when you associate, you could say, simplify difficult concepts by creating these metaphors and analogies, people can visualize better and categorize more easily and eradicate more easily as well. So now that we understand that Jerry's are just basically problems in every single form, and we understand the way in which Jerry's enter not just our body, but also our spirit, our soul, our inner self. The next part is going to be how we can eradicate Jerry, yes?
I don't know if you have just 1 minute. Let me show you the illustration that I show to my student. We'll give you, a lot of people, they need to have visual. So all these are visual, but I got more visual for you. Can I share screen then?
Definitely.
Okay, so this is my, so this picture is the component of our life form. So we got the body, we got the mind, which is Jerry, thoughts, memories, and feelings, and then we got the consciousness, okay, which is our true self. Can you see that this structure is so perfect? And this is the concept of the Buddha that gave to us, called the 5 element or the 5 khandha, you see. And so this is another image of we are being bombarded by a whole army of Jerry. This one. And you see that physically we are okay. You can sit still in your favorite armchair, but mentally, can you see all this activity going on within? And people cannot see because it doesn't reflect in the mirror. So we got a mental self and we got a whole army of Jerry, with all these words that, shooting to your mental self. It's just like bullets. Or knife keep on stabbing you. Go to hell. All these, you're so fat and ugly. Fat and ugly, the reason I put in here is because there is a girl in England, she's only 12. And then she was bullied with these 5 words: you are fat and ugly. And in the end, she hung herself.
Oh, no.
She killed herself. Yeah, 5 words is, enough for a girl, to kill herself. So this is a serious matter. This is really serious matter that we got to try to understand. But externally, this is all we show. You see, because the physical body is the only part that we see in the mirror. But within, all this activity within about Tom and Jerry, we can't see. And the only way that we show is that all this, crumpled, face, all this mangled face that looks so unhappy. And only us know full well how we feel. all these words, that about worry or I have anxious, I'm feel sad, it doesn't even touch the actual emotion. It doesn't touch at all. It's totally different thing. This is only label words, you see. But the real thing, oh my God. Oh
it's
my God.
so many more times.
Yeah, this is serious. That's why I need all this illustration, to help people to understand. So to wrap it up for you, Rosalind, today, okay? So we have a whole army of Jerry. So the first picture on the left-hand side, you can see, it's very much like this one, or you see, a whole army of Jerry, okay? And then take over your mental self-baton. So if you can bring your mental self back home, this tool that I deliver to people, it's about purging Jerry. Get rid of Jerry. Go away, Jerry. Go away from my house. And then you claim your territory back. You claim your mental space back. When you tell people that leave me alone, I need some space, you don't actually talk about physical space, but you talk about your mental space. You talk about your mental space, that peace and quiet. But because physical space, it can lead to mental space. Yeah, but not always. Because your memory, it can get in the way. The memory itself is a trigger in itself.
So we're working from the inside out.
Yeah. So this is exactly what happened. So I stopped the share screen. So I wrap it up now. This is exactly what happened when you have the word, as within, so without, as above, so below, right? It means that before you can understand the world in this physical world, you really got to understand within first. You got to understand the universe within, and the universe within is more complex. It's more complex than the external universe. And because our inner universe, our thoughts and feeling, is the part that create this physical universe. Whatever that we think, like before this thing is non-exist, but the thinker invented the thing first. Think, Jerry, think, why Jerry, think. And then, okay, and then you can manifest this in the material form. So your thoughts manifest, is the
reality
that create this reality externally. So that's why you need to understand within before you can understand outside. So without understanding within, there is no way that you can understand this world and solve the problem of this world. Okay, and especially all this, everything that's going on in the world right now. You see, you really need to understand all this activity about Tom and Jerry within first. So as within, so without, as above, so below.
And definitely, as you said earlier, in order to solve a problem, you have to identify the problem, and then you can find the solution. And so today we've identified how we identify the problem through Tom and Jerry, and we can pinpoint what we can perhaps even trace the Jerrys to where they're affecting us. And once we pinpoint those Jerrys, then we can move on to eradicate Jerry and bring Tom back home. Bring your mental self back home.
Bring your mental self back home, or bring Tom back home. Yeah, the same thing. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Kadzan. And in part 2, we'll talk about how to bring your mental self back home and just chase out all those Jerrys. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Rosalind. Thank you, Ka. สวัสดีค่ะ